The legends were true. The giant had found me, and now it was going to eat me. The chilling lullabies of my youth, whispered by elders around flickering bioluminescent fungi, were about to become my grim reality. I'm Lilia, pocket-sized, a diligent moss-gatherer, and quite frankly, a first-time off-worlder completely out of my depth, and the towering, carbon-scarred mountain of a creature unwrapping me from his cargo pocket. That's the very thing my people swear will swallow me whole, bones and all. Terrified? Oh, that word feels far too small, too utterly inadequate to describe the frantic rhythm of my heart's tap-dancing inside my ribcage. It was a symphony of pure, unadulterated panic. Commander Elijah Blackwood, a formidable 6-foot-something of human musculature encased in a flight suit that had clearly seen its share of nebula dust and cosmic skirmishes, crouches in the cargo bay. From my minuscule perspective, nestled precariously within his enormous palm, he was less a man and more a tectonic plate deciding precisely where to settle. Everything was a dizzying skyline of kneecaps, holsters, and the bewildering scale of his human form. He lifted the cracked specimen jar, my unwitting temporary sanctuary that I had foolishly crawled into last night. I had mistaken its opaque glass for a cozy, sheltered nook, only to wake up hurtling through the terrifying expanse of orbit. His piercing blue eyes, which held an unexpected depth, scanned the label plastered across the jar's side. Exotic flora, do not open. A deep, almost guttural frown creased his brow, a shadow passing over his rugged features. I trembled, my tiny limbs locking up. In my culture, humans weren't just predators. They were apex predators, beings with ovens for stomachs, capable of unimaginable culinary horrors. We had lullabies about it, tales spun to keep younglings from wandering too far. Then, a low rumble emanated from him, a sound that vibrated through the glass. "Poor thing's probably suffocating," he muttered, his voice a surprising contrast to his imposing presence. And with a swift, decisive motion, he popped the lid. Air rushed in, a sudden, overwhelming gust, and with it, an even greater wave of terror. My voice, usually a melodic chirp, squeaked out, barely audible even to my own sensitive ears. Please don't eat me!" The words, imbued with every ounce of my fear, hit him like a physical blow. He froze, his massive palms instinctively opening, a gesture of surrender or reassurance. "Hey, easy. I don't eat people." I blinked, my iridescent eyes wide with disbelief. That sentence, that impossible combination of sounds, simply shouldn't exist in any known galactic lexicon. It defied every story, every cautionary tale my people had ever woven. He gently set the jar on a nearby crate, the impact barely a whisper. Then, with a deliberate grace that belied his size, he knelt so low that the very deck seemed to groan in protest. Suddenly, the sky above me was his face, weather-worn, etched with experiences I couldn't fathom, yet undeniably gentle and filled with an almost childlike curiosity. No fangs, none that I could discern anyway. Still, stories didn't carve themselves into generations of collective memory without a reason, did they? My instincts screamed caution. I instinctively backpedaled inside the curved glass, pressing myself against the cool, smooth surface. "You'll fatten me first," I accused, my voice gaining a sliver of its usual assertiveness despite my fear. "Seasonings, crackling." He actually laughed then, a soft, almost hurt sound that resonated through the cargo bay. "Humans don't eat sentient beings, ever. That's basic. It's a fundamental tenet of our species, Lilia." I scanned for lies, my delicate antennae twitching almost imperceptibly. They always twitched, a telltale sign, when the adults back home fibbed about bedtime or the availability of sweet nectar. Now they were still, utterly unwavering. It was baffling. Elijah reached out, his finger approaching the jar. Not grabbing, not threatening, just resting a single digit beside the glass. "You're hurt," he observed, his voice laced with genuine concern. Only now, in the sudden absence of immediate existential threat, did I truly feel the dull ache, the bruise on my delicate wing case. I must have bumped it hard during the chaotic, unexpected launch sequence. He produced a med pen, a sleek, metallic device that, to my scale, appeared the size of a sturdy tree trunk. I flinched, my entire being recoiling. But he didn't press. He waited, his hand steady, his gaze unwavering. Consent. The realization dawned on me, a small spark of understanding in the vast darkness of my fear. This giant, this potential devourer, wouldn't move, wouldn't act, until I gave him permission. Micro-interactions, yes, but with macro meaning. I gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. The pen's hiss sounded like a summer storm, a gentle, soothing sound rather than a terrifying one. A cool, healing mist enveloped me, sealing the minor laceration on my shell. The pain, which I hadn't even fully registered, faded into a distant memory. I exhaled, a long, shuddering breath, the first truly relaxed one I had taken since being launched into the unforgiving void of orbit. "Name?" he asked, his voice a low, steady rumble. "Lilia," I replied, finding a surprising strength in my own voice. "Elijah." He offered his name, an exchange that felt profound in its simplicity. We studied each other then, a truly peculiar pair, me barely the size of his thumb, a tiny speck of life from a vibrant, mossy world. Him, the imposing scale of a small moon, a silent, watchful presence. I found myself telling him about the glowing moss, the very lifeblood of my village, essential for our delicate light cycles. My bag of precious samples, crucial for our survival, had floated off during the frantic scramble of the launch. Without it, home would stay dark for another bleak season, its delicate ecosystem thrown into disarray. He listened, really listened. His attention so absolute it was as if gravity itself was an optional concept he could simply ignore. "We'll find it," he vowed, his voice resonating with an unwavering conviction. And I, against all my ingrained fears and cultural teachings, almost believed him. The sheer audacity of his promise, the quiet determination in his eyes, was disarming. Suddenly, the ship sensors blared, a jarring, urgent beep that cut through the quiet. "Shard claws incoming. Asteroid vermin," he explained, creatures notorious for their insatiable hunger for hull plating. Elijah's shoulders squared, a subtle but unmistakable shift in his posture, radiating an aura of readiness. "Stay close," he commanded, his voice now edged with a quiet authority. "To what?" "Your esophagus?" I retorted, the old fear bubbling up, laced with a new, unexpected bravado. He actually smirked, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. "To safety, Lilia, to safety." He tucked me into a chest pocket, a surprisingly soft fabric that smelled faintly of soap and the faint, sweet scent of nebula gas. It was a strange, intimate sanctuary. I peeked out, my curiosity overriding my lingering apprehension, as the blast doors hissed shut, sealing us off from the immediate threat. Through the reinforced viewport, I could see them, silver talons glinting menacingly, scraping against the ship's metal hull. Elijah's rifle clicked alive in his hands, a sound of deadly efficiency. But he didn't blast blindly, didn't react with unthinking aggression. He calculated, his gaze precise, waiting. He waited until the shard claw latched onto an external sensor mast, its razor-sharp claws digging in. Then, and only then, did he fire a focused pulse that fried its grip. The creature spun helplessly into the black void, a testament to his precision. One clean shot. No cruelty, no gratuitous violence, no grotesque trophy gathering. This wasn't predation. It was protection. My antennae twitched again, but for the first time, not from fear. It was something else entirely, something akin to wonder. After the decompression alarms finally quieted, leaving a lingering hum in their wake, Elijah turned his attention to a hollow screen. His fingers danced across the interface, searching cargo manifests with surprising speed. My moss bag appeared on the item tracker, a tiny blinking icon, Bay 12, section where crates had shifted during the tumultuous launch. A wave of relief, so potent it almost made my wings flutter, washed over me. We trekked the corridor, a journey made easier by my unusual mode of transport. I was riding on his shoulder, a vantage point that offered a dizzying perspective of the ship's labyrinthine passages. He steadied his steps, a conscious effort to ensure I didn't topple from my perch. He detoured unexpectedly to the galley, a space filled with unfamiliar aromas. "You hungry?" he asked, his gaze surprisingly gentle. Old reflexes screamed yes, a primal urge for sustenance, while terror, ever the insidious whisperer, hissed its poisons into my mind. Could this be it? The softening up phase before the inevitable? He tore a crumb of protein bread, a minuscule fragment to him, but to me it was a veritable banquet, a feast of epic proportions. He set it carefully on the table, then, demonstrating an astonishing awareness of my apprehension, backed away 3 paces. It was a silent invitation, a gesture of trust, allowing me to approach freely, without feeling cornered. I tasted it, cautiously at first. Earthy, nutty, and to my immense relief, no sedatives. He watched me, his expression unreadable, like someone who had just been handed a rare, uncharted star map. The intensity of his gaze was almost overwhelming. "Good?" he asked, the single word loaded with a quiet anticipation. "Better than fear," I admitted, the truth of it a revelation. His smile, when it finally bloomed, felt like sunrise on a moon nobody had named yet. A warm, hopeful light in the vast, cold expanse of space. It was a smile that promised something more than mere survival. Bay 12's lights flickered erratically, casting long, dancing shadows. Crates were tilted at precarious angles, a chaotic jumble resembling a child's blocks carelessly tossed aside. Between the narrow gaps, my moss bag glimmered, a beacon of neon green, a vibrant promise of home. Elijah, with his imposing size, simply couldn't fit. His broad shoulders and powerful frame were an insurmountable obstacle. Only I, with my diminutive stature, could weave through the treacherous labyrinth of shifted cargo. I squeezed between corrugated walls, the rough metal scraping faintly against my wings, a minor discomfort easily ignored in my focused determination. My bag's strap, however, was snagged, caught stubbornly under a 50-kilo container, an immovable leviathan. "Lilia?" His voice, carrying just enough of that unique parental tone humans adopt before storming in to fix things, reached me through the metallic canyons. "I'm fine," I chirped back, trying to project an air of calm I didn't entirely possess. "Just leverage issues." He slid a crowbar, a heavy-duty tool, through a gap, its metallic gleam catching the flickering light. He braced himself, his muscles tensing, and with a grunt of effort, lifted the massive crate just enough for me to tug the bag free. Success. It tasted like chlorophyll and the sweet relief of a mission accomplished. I fluttered back to him, the precious moss bag slung proudly over my shoulder. He lowered the crate gently, the sound barely a whisper, then wiped a bead of sweat from his brow. "Mission complete," I announced, puffing out my chest with a sense of triumph. He offered a high five, his massive palm dwarfing my entire being. I slapped the soft pad of his index finger, a tiny thud against his skin. Our sizes mismatched dramatically, a comical disparity, but our grins, wide and genuine, didn't. They were perfectly aligned. In the observation lounge, nebula curtains billowed outside the vast viewport, a cosmic ballet of swirling gas and starlight. I perched comfortably on the console, a prime viewing spot, while Elijah leaned beside me, his presence a comforting anchor. "Why help me?" I ventured, genuinely puzzled by his selfless actions. "Resource gains negligible. From a purely logical, transactional standpoint, there's no benefit." He shrugged, a simple gesture that conveyed a surprising depth of meaning. "You needed aid. That's sufficient. In my world, everything was trade, every interaction a negotiation, a balance of give and take. In his, apparently, kindness was its own currency, a value beyond material gain. It was a concept both alien and profoundly beautiful. I ventured further, treading carefully. "My people tell stories. Humans devour, enslave, exploit." He nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "We tell stories, too. Aliens steal, infiltrate, deceive. Maybe both our libraries need updated editions. Perhaps the true narratives are far more complex, far more nuanced than our ancestral fears allow." Silence settled between us then, but it was a comfortable silence, like shared blankets on a cold night, woven with a newfound understanding. I realized I was twirling one of my antennae, a subconscious gesture that, among my people, could be interpreted as flirtation. "Stars help me," he noticed, a faint blush coloring his cheeks. Is a blush the human equivalent of a wing flutter, I wondered? Another micro-interaction, brimming with macro meaning, adding another layer to the intricate tapestry of our connection. If this kind of gentle giant human story, where fear slowly, almost imperceptibly, transforms into something profoundly hopeful, warms your thrusters and sparks your curiosity, then please hit that like button, tap subscribe, and definitely drop a comment below. Tell me your favorite moment where fear flipped into trust, where an unexpected connection defied all expectations. The galaxy, I truly believe, could use so many more of those stories. Course correction time. Our journey wasn't over yet. Elijah had to deliver me to the Moss Depot station, a significant 2 systems away, ensuring my safe passage and the continuation of my village's light cycles. He offered bunk space, a modified storage drawer, surprisingly spacious and lined with thermal foam. It was a small gesture, yet deeply considerate. I couldn't resist a tease, a playful jab at his imposing nature. Big scary human makes me a cradle. How menacing, Commander Blackwood. He laughed, a deep, resonant sound that rumbled through my entire thorax, a comforting vibration. Night cycle descended, bringing with it a profound quiet. The ship's main lights dimmed, casting long, soft shadows, and the engines hummed a low, steady lullaby, a mechanical song of the void. I lay awake in my cozy, foam-lined drawer, my antennae flicking, testing the subtle wavelengths of the ship around me. Outside the drawer, his breathing steadied, slow, rhythmic tides of human slumber. I crawled to the edge, peeking out cautiously. He was asleep in a chair, his formidable arms crossed over his chest, guarding the drawer like it held the most precious treasure in the cosmos. His presence, even in sleep, was a silent sentinel. My thorax tightened, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was something warmer, something expansive, a feeling akin to gratitude, to a budding sense of belonging. I whispered, a soft, almost inaudible sound. Thank you. Elijah, knowing full well he couldn't hear me. Yet, saying it, even to the silent stars, mattered profoundly. Next shift, we docked at the depot, a bustling hub of galactic commerce. Transferring cargo here meant crowds, species of every conceivable chassis, every shape and size swirling around in a vibrant, sometimes overwhelming cacophony. A freight handler, burly and equipped with multiple limbs, spotted me as I emerged from the ship, clutching my precious moss bag. He snorted, a dismissive sound. Tiny for a dock worker, aren't you? I clutched the moss bag tighter, my wings instinctively tucking in, a defensive posture. The old fears, though diminished, still lingered. A faint echo. Elijah stepped smoothly between us, his voice calm, yet with an edge, a subtle, almost plasma-like intensity that demanded attention. She's under my protection. The handler, assessing Elijah's formidable presence, reconsidered his stance. He gave a grudging nod and moved on, his multi-limbs clanking. No fists. No escalation, just presence, a silent, unyielding shield. I felt 10 feet tall, a truly ironic sensation given my actual scale. It was a feeling of profound validation, of being seen and defended. We delivered the moss, its vibrant green, a stark contrast to the utilitarian surroundings. The depot chief, a gruff but fair individual, signed the ledger. My village would earn light credits for half a cycle, a lifeline for our community. Elijah, in a move that further cemented my understanding of his unique nature, refused a finder's fee. Invested in better cargo nets, he advised, a practical suggestion delivered with a characteristic lack of pretense. The chief nodded, clearly impressed by this unexpected display of integrity. I beamed like a lantern, my inner light shining brightly. Back aboard the ship, the departure countdown ticked steadily, each digit a beat closer to our next destination. I stood on the console. My wings fanned slightly, a gesture of newfound confidence. Elijah, you've done enough. Any port will grant me passage home now. My people will be safe. He folded his arms, a familiar, thoughtful pose. Thought we might continue. A partnership, perhaps? I chart nebula rims. You collect samples. We could share profits, share stories. Choose our next destination together, Lilia. The galaxy is vast, and there's so much more to discover. The offer hung in the air, shimmering like a star waiting on naming rights, a beckoning promise of shared adventures. I swallowed, a tiny gulp. You realize fraternizing with pocket-sized aliens raises eyebrows, Commander. He chuckled, a warm, deep sound. Let them raise eyebrows. We'll raise horizons instead. We'll show them what's truly possible when two vastly different worlds decide to explore together. I stepped closer, my tiny hand reaching out, placing it delicately against the pad of his index fingertip. Partners, then. Our pact, sealed with that simple touch, felt bigger than ships, bigger than ancient legends, bigger even than the lingering whispers of fear. It felt like the beginning of something truly extraordinary. So, the feared devourer became the steadfast guardian, the trembling gatherer became the bold explorer, and 2 galaxies' worth of bedtime stories got rewritten. Not with grand, sweeping gestures, but with one gentle act, one shared moment, one tiny touch at a time. It's a testament, really, to the quiet power of connection. If you want to ride along on nebula rims, exploring the uncharted wonders of the cosmos, or just need more proof that kindness in its purest form is truly universal, then smash that subscribe button and share this tale. Share it with someone who still thinks the universe runs only on teeth and claws. Because sometimes, the most profound transformations begin with the simplest of understandings. See you in the stars, and remember, size protects no one. But compassion, that incredible quiet force, protects everyone.